Yo, 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 we're back. Got a presentation for y'all boys on fasting because if you don't know already, within the past videos, within the short form that I've been cooking up, currently in the midst of a 72 to 96 hour fast, actually going for 100 hours, right? I've already hit the 96 mark, but just thugging it out for 4 more hours. So I'm gonna break the fast in 2 hours from now, actually. So we're 98 hours in, but I felt that, the perfect way to end off this fast, right, before heading into the 2.0 diet experiment, right, prioritizing the absolute highest quality food and nutrition, buying from the best brands possible, right, it's going to be a huge experiment within the health fitness aspect of, just my overall development towards stepping into the highest version of myself, right, my 2.0. But I felt compelled to come on here and touch on what fasting means for me personally within aligning myself, mentally, physically, and spiritually towards my 2.0, my highest self, because, fasting, believe it or not, is so much more than just, the physical benefits. And, we'll obviously touch on that in a second. But I want to just emphasize that within, this idea of 2.0, right? That best version of you, right? You 2.0, alignment is everything, right? To achieve congruence across the mental, the physical, and the spiritual aspects of your being, right? Aligning your mind, your body, and your soul, your thoughts, your actions, and your beliefs. That in this life, that is what guarantees authentic success. And not only that, the journey of an absolute lifetime towards genuine self mastery and just becoming that version of yourself, right? You're 2.0. And for me personally, fasting is one of the few rare practices that drives growth across all three of those aspects of your being, right? Within your health and your fitness, right? Within your mindset and just your spirituality, right? For me, these are the foundations of 2.0. These are the three things that I am constantly in pursuit of developing and growing within. And it's why, before I head into this presentation, I want to leave y'all with, this Bruce Lee quote that I absolutely love. In that when it comes to intaking any sort of information and just hearing anybody preach within, content, within books, within podcasts, whatever it is you're consuming, this quote is perfectly aligns with my own standard of resonation over information, and that absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. You should only, within anything that I say, right, take only what resonates and apply that to your personal system. Don't, hear anything I say and just take it at face value, or when you feel compelled to act upon it, just leave it, in the dust, right? Lean into that resonation, lean into that compulsion. When you think to yourself, this is useful, right? This is actually useful. Absorb that, forget anything else that I say that doesn't resonate, and then just add what is uniquely your own. Apply it to your personal playbook. That's just the mantra I go in within anything I consume, and I just wanted to share that with anybody who might be consuming my content as well. Because obviously I want us to be on the same page, you know what I'm saying? But, how about we dive right in? So, first of all, the physical benefits of fasting, right? Health optimization. Within the physical aspect of fasting, right, it's pretty evident that the benefits are second to none in terms of just creating that drastic change, both internally and externally from, a bodily perspective. And so, how fasting transforms the body, right? I just got a, a bullet point list here. And, to be fair, you could honestly look up all of this stuff. I'm not gonna lie, right? I'm not gonna sit here and act like this is like some secret information, but it's to just, give you an idea of, at least for me, what stands out in terms of the benefits. So, first of all, it just absolutely enhances your metabolism, resets your gut by giving it a complete break from food. So, for me, this is absolutely vital in that not too long ago, I experienced this bout of just terrible gut issues. And it wasn't until I did a modified fast where I was just strictly drinking bone broth, but in doing that, it completely resolved my gut issues that I've been struggling with for like a month. And that to me just reinforced me like fasting is, fasting is it. Fasting is the shit. And obviously, besides that, just tapping in a fast source for energy via, putting your body in a ketosis. And as a result, you achieve accelerated fat loss. And wanting to lose weight, shed fat, fasting is pretty helpful. I do not recommend just, starving yourself for no reason, right? Actually be intentional about it. But regardless, autophagy to get rid of the damaged cells, reduce inflammation within the body, right? Who doesn't love that? Optimizing and resensitizing your hormonal profile, right? Insulin absolutely plummets because obviously when you eat, insulin rises, right? Especially when you're having carbs as well. But in the complete absence of food, it has no choice but to go down. And growth hormone, matter of fact, goes up, and that's what preserves the lean muscle mass and allows you to primarily, burn fat even in the absence of food. And just overall, in terms of the physical, man, facilitating growth, repair, and recovery in the absence of the taxing bodily process that is, eating and digesting food. Because we don't realize that process just takes up so much energy that our body could be using towards other things. And when you fast, that energy is finally able to be directed towards fulfilling these transformative factors. And of course, the list goes on and on in terms of just the factors that play within a fast. And it's why it's become this, biohack nowadays in terms of people seeking to leverage all of those, amazing health benefits and use it as a means to step back into our primal natural way of living. Because, I mean, for our ancestors, this was just a way of life, right? This was just a way of living. But, I'm here to tell you that it is indeed more than just a biohack, and that beyond it, the mental and the spiritual benefits are significant, right? It's so much more than just health optimization when you consider those mind and soul benefits. And so, within the mental aspect of fasting, man, the level of focus and sharpness you begin to experience is profound, absolutely profound. Throughout this fast, obviously there's been some dips in energy, but for the most part, just the level of clarity and focus that I have, because your brain begins to run on ketones instead of the usual carbs as energy, right? It's continuing to tap in to those fat stores within the body. And as I mentioned, clarity and that heightened sense of awareness and attention towards just executing any task is such a valuable aspect relative to applying your mind within your personal endeavors when it comes to, like work or school, especially, right? I recently just started college up again, and I've honestly leveraged the level of focus that I've gotten to just get ahead on some work. I'm not gonna lie. But even more though, in depriving yourself of food, your mind begins to fixate less on the external environment regarding the pursuit of external energy from food, and instead it starts to shift internally towards relying more on the resources and energy that already exists within. As I mentioned, eating is such a taxing process, digesting is such a taxing process, but when you deprive yourself of that and your body forgets what it's like to eat and digest for that brief period of time, it starts to rely on what is within. And that is where all of those benefits, as I mentioned, come into play. But as a result, your mind, your mental state begins to shift towards fixating on that instead of the external environment, because he has to rely on what is already inside to survive. And in doing this, the conscious mind begins to take a step back and the subconscious mind begins to take over. And that, when you look at this picture here, the conscious mind really is just a small part of our overarching, mindset and brain. The subconscious is where everything exists, right? Spiritual connection, intuition, just involuntary bodily functions, right? How else do you breathe? How else are you able to just do things on autopilot? It's because of the subconscious mind. And within fasting, you begin to facilitate for the projection of the soul through the subconscious mind and through those deep stores of energy, finally able to be brought out in the absence of food and an overfixation on the external. And now you're fixating on the internal. And it's why I wholeheartedly believe that spirituality of fasting shines through the releasing of that internal energy that was quote unquote stuck within the processes of consuming and digesting food in terms of the physical, and focusing on the external threats within our, typical lives via the mental. That energy that I'm talking about, that internal deep energy, it goes beyond just fat or carbs, right? Like, sure, whilst we're fasting, we're really just relying on our fat stores for energy. But I can't help but believe that the spiritual energy that resides within each and every one of us, right? The energy that is responsible for birth and creativity, individuality, and an overall projection of our raw, authentic nature, right? I can't help but believe that that is the case that is going on within fasting, especially as you get into the deeper fast. Because in surrendering your fleshly desires and just your overall external fixations, man, that energy is finally able to be utilized in a way that draws in the mental, the physical, and the spiritual aspects of your being to fulfill that one common goal within fasting. And for me, that is just allowing your overall being to operate at its most natural, fundamental baseline, right? How our ancestors were living on a day-to-day basis. That is the most natural, fundamental way. But of course, within this modern day, we got to spice it up a bit in terms of just how it facilitates alignment across your mind, your body, and your soul as a whole, man. And so it's why fasting is nature's reset button for alignment, right? Fasting hits the reset button on your mind and your body via carrying out that internal process that seeks to place your body in a state of autopilot relative to naturally working towards not only maintaining homeostasis, the survival of our body via the restoration in terms of, the bodily chemical processes going on and the rewiring of the mind, but it's like you pair that with just the ability to fully embrace and project your spiritual, authentic nature. It is such a powerful form of alignment when executed upon with that correct intention beyond just chasing, the health hacks and just, the clarity and focus that you get. Truly facilitates real, true development and growth within the mental, physical, and spiritual aspects of your being. And in viewing it in such a way, perhaps I can offer you that new perspective within fasting as to how it just allows you to step closer into that highest version of yourself, right? The version of you that is aligned across your mind, your body, and your soul. Perfect harmony, perfect congruence. Because that is what this journey is all about. This journey that I am on towards stepping into my own 2.0, it all comes down to alignment. And obviously, now you guys see why fasting is such a powerful thing for me personally, and how I could even just randomly decide, you know what, let me fast for 100 hours, right? Let me fast for 100 hours. I wasn't doing it for no reason. I wasn't doing it just to get the health hacks and the clarity and the focus. I was doing it because it just aligns me across everything. It allows me to project my soul. It optimizes my body and it just leaves my mind. It allows the conscious to finally take a step back and just allows my subconscious brain to be at the forefront. Just naturally working towards stepping closer into who I am fundamentally. That is it, boys. The power of fasting for mind, body, and soul within 2.0. If you guys got any value, like, comment, feedback, always appreciated. This fast has truly been a journey, man. Just a couple of days, but it's felt like forever. So I'm hyped to be able to break it in just, 2 hours from now. Gonna make a short form on that, probably outlining essentially what I did today in terms of, my training, and obviously when I go to finally consume food and break the fast, how I'm approaching that. And obviously moving forward after today, man, the 2.0 diet experiment is going to be in full swing. Absolutely looking forward to that. But till then, we'll keep y'all posted on that for sure. It's gonna be a fun one, man. This journey towards your higher self, it's not something you can fake. It's not something you can BS yourself out of. It is truly the only way At least the way I see it, the only way to live within this life. But hey, see y'all in the next one.